ElevenLabs began as a two-person experiment in solving a Polish dubbing problem. Why should every foreign film sound like the same voice? In fact, in one film, both the characters, male and female, were dubbed by the same person. 2 years on, ElevenLabs is one of the most closely watched players in the voice AI space, with technology now used across media, gaming, and customer support. From Star Sports to Meesho, they have big play in the Indian market. ElevenLabs co-founder Mati Staniszewski says the future of audio will be interactive, personalized, and embedded in everything from audiobooks and news to education and customer service. India, already its biggest market by user signups, is central to that ambition. I caught up with Mati during my recent visit to the Silicon Valley. We met at a crowded cafe where the occupants in our neighboring tables were probably discussing blueprints of the next big tech giants that I will write about in the next few years. In between coffee and the surrounding cerebral chaos, I got some great insights from him on a range of questions, from why it's an advantage or a disadvantage for his company to not be in the Silicon Valley, to why India and its multilingual market is a gold mine for ElevenLabs. This is the first episode of a special series, ET in the Valley, where over the next few weeks, me and my colleagues will bring you conversations with founders and C-suite executives that are rewriting the global tech story with AI. It's Wednesday, the 5th of November. I am Surabhi Agarwal, and this is the Morning Brief. Hi Marty, welcome to the ET's Morning Brief podcast. You were recently part of the UK PM's delegation to India. What stood out for you?
Perfect. I had a pleasure recently of joining UK delegation to India, where alongside 100 other CEOs and entrepreneurs and innovators in the space across with the government, we went to India in tandem to the UK trade deal announced with India. It was amazing because for us as a company, India has been a important and a big market from the very early days. Today, it's the biggest market by sign-up, so we have a lot of users using the technology, and that's kind of a result of us creating voice in Indian languages from the start. Hindi, Tamil, now 12 others are really good across voice. And now the second piece is that it oscillates, but it's usually within top 3 enterprise markets as well. So we've seen a lot of amazing deployments in India, like with companies like Meesho, Star Sports, actually using the technology in customer support in new immersive technologies. So for us, the trip to India was amazing to meet a lot of other companies that we can work with and then exchange notes on some of the AI voice deployments in agents and customer support, in entertainment, in gaming, and of course, in the wider set of changing world with voice.
You also had the opportunity to meet PM Modi during that visit. Could you tell us about it?
So, I had a pleasure of being invited to the launch alongside a number of other companies across India and UK, and both the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Keir Starmer. I'm really in awe of your Prime Minister and how he's pushing a lot of the AI innovation. We had a pleasure of working, I don't know if you know a podcast of Lex Fridman. Lex Fridman back in the day interviewed Narendra Modi. In the conversation, Lex was speaking English, Prime Minister was speaking Hindi, and we worked with them to bring it into English so you could enjoy the conversation in English, as well as other languages, so Hindi included, where you could have both characters with the same voices speak together, which was amazing.
That's really interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the Indian market. You know, India has so much diversity in terms of languages, and we have 22 official languages and so many unofficial languages. How does a company like ElevenLabs, which is trying to build a great product through voice AI, see this market? What are the opportunities for you?
You know, the two key offerings we have today is a creative platform offering. We help companies with narrations, voiceovers, with dubbing. and then the agentic platform offering, where we help companies build conversational agents. And with India, we see opportunity on both sides. And that has been great, where on the first one, a lot of the content that's being created needs to reach the wider India audience. And the only way to do this is if you localize that in all the 22 different languages. And that's the kind of the key priority, how we can help companies do that at scale. Then the second one will be a big interface of how we interact with the technology. Interestingly for India, India is ahead of wider world, where voice is already such a big part of interaction with others, with the technology around. I hope in the 2 years, we can be the enabler for the businesses and customer support, and bringing that more from support function, a backend function, into more of a front office function with customer experience. And then a wider set of personal agents. How will the education evolve with AI being part of that? And of course, helping a lot of the brands that are in the ecosystem creating their extension through that brand voice as well.
So how many languages does ElevenLabs support right now? And could you share a timeline in terms of when do you think you would be able to support all 22 Indian languages, like you said, that you aim to do?
For conversational use cases, we support Hindi and Tamil. And for narration voiceover, we support 14 languages in India now, so a lot. And we hope to bring all 14 in the conversational use cases in the next 3 months, so within this quarter. And then hopefully in a Q1, Q2 next year, extend it to all 22.
So in terms of partnerships, are you looking at tying up with companies like Indian companies like Sarvam, who are already building Indian language capabilities? Because that ecosystem is still very, very fragmented, and building Indic language data sets remains still a very sort of Herculean task, if I can call it that.
It's an interesting one, because in some spaces, those companies will be our partners, in other, they'll be our competitors. For a lot of the use cases, you need to combine our voice models alongside with the LLMs to really derive the highest value. And in those cases, working with some of the providers that make LLMs fit for purpose in India is great. We can kind of get the best of the both worlds. In other settings, some of the companies will try to create voice models at the same quality as ours. And in those cases, we are competitors. Happily for us, today we are winning on the benchmarks, whether it's for producing speech for text-to-speech, understanding speech for speech-to-text. But over time, I'm sure it will be more competitive. So hopefully a combination of both will keep us ahead.
Okay, that's great. Mati, I want to switch gears and ask you about the story of ElevenLabs. What is your story? How did the company start? Also, do you think that, being not based out of the Silicon Valley, for an AI company to be not based out of Silicon Valley, what does it mean? Do you look at it as a disadvantage? How do you work around it?
The story started from, in an interesting way, it could have not started in the Valley. I'm from Poland, my co-founder is from the Poland, and there's a crazy thing that if you watch a foreign movie in Polish language, all the voices, whether it's a male or female voice, get narrated with one single character. So it's a dubbing with one person. Horrible experience. And if you watch most of the content today, still it's created this way. And something that I worked at Palantir, my co-founder worked at Google, and we realized, as you think about the future, it will change. You will have the original content, original creation, original information, but delivered in any voice, in any accent, in any dialect, in that incredible way. And I think if we grew up in the US, we would never have known about this as a problem, because it doesn't touch that in any way. From the start, for us as a company, we knew that our mission is going to be global. We want to be able to cater to all those languages and do it at the quality that most of the companies won't care about. They're optimized just for English. So that was very important for us. And that kind of allowed us to set up the company for a global perspective from the start. But the truth is, it's much harder to build a company, I think, from Europe than US. And the reason we think it's harder is that you of course can have advantages of access to the talent, the global perspective, and the time zone is useful. But the flip side is the number of people that have scaled the company to like hundreds to $1 trillion valuation as a proxy of impact is just so low. There's just so few companies. And what this means is that the people across go-to-market, across engineering, that know the same challenges are just non-existent. So you need to go in hard mode where you need to learn everything from scratch. There's some advantages of that, but also very hard.
Sure. So right now, where are your biggest offices, and do you have any plans for India?
So we started remote, but then we started building hubs in places where we have a lot of people. So our biggest offices are in London, that's our biggest, New York second, Warsaw third, and then now San Francisco is scaling as well. But we are opening, and we should speak about it when we do that, in Bangalore we'll be opening an office, and in Japan and Tokyo. So we have 330 people globally. We crossed 200 million in run rate a month back, more than a month back. We are on a path to hit 300 million by end of the year. If we do, it's going to be a good transition because it took us 20 months from launch to reach first 100, 10 months to reach 200, and then 5 months to 300. So fingers crossed we get there, and that path continues. It's roughly 50% self-serve and 50% sales-led enterprise business. And we recently did a tender offer for employees at 6.6 billion. The key investors are A16Z, Sequoia, and Iconic.
If you look at the Valley ecosystem right now, and I've spent a few days here in Silicon Valley in San Francisco, and everything around AI seems to be centered around this one city. Given the fact that you are not based out of Silicon Valley, is fundraising or capital infusion a challenge for a tech company that isn't headquartered in the Valley? How do you look at it?
I think less on the capital. I think we didn't have any challenge with the capital and partnering with who we think are the best companies in the world, the best investors in the world. But it is, if you aren't in the Valley, it's harder to work with early innovators in the space. There's so many companies here that are very quick to adoption. Although I would say India is also very good at this. In Europe, people are slower, much slower to adopt it in an enterprise setting. In the Valley, they are quick. They've been through that. They know how to use it. And not being in the Valley is harder. That's why we are investing so much and having our presence here. And we feel like as much of a Silicon Valley company as anybody else.
Okay, let me ask you this one question on the future of audio with AI. How do you think that the industry will evolve given the fact that so much is now possible through AI?
Yeah, there are two parts to the answer. The first one is the impact of the experiences on the world. And of course, there's impact on the economy, how people will adopt. So in the first part, I think the whole creative industry will shift to more personalized content. So that's one. Two, it will be available in audio always. Every audiobook, every news article, every script will be available in audio. And then it will be available globally in all the languages. So that's going to be a default. Whether it's Pocket FM, whether it's Kuku FM, whether it's Star Sports, all of our clients are already using that to bring their audio into those other languages. In the next 2-3 years, it will be a standard. It will be global, it will be audio first, and will be personalized to the experiences. And there will be a second thing, and that's where I actually think will be more of the revenue and commercial impact, and also the way and how people can enjoy it. It will be a shift from static into interactive, into immersive. In media entertainment, what this means is you will be able to speak with characters in a book. You'll be able to interact with effectively characters from the movie in gaming setting. And then, of course, in a more enterprise setting and customer support and call centers, all of that will be driven by AI agents. I think this will be a biggest shift for the world, and one where we think as ElevenLabs, we can create the most value and, of course, create something generational. On the other hand, there will be an impact on the economy. I think how people do their work will change. One of the things we've done is actually created the voice marketplace where everybody can create their own voice and earn money when that voice is being used. So you can record it, share it, and then if you decide that, you can earn money on that. And now we have over 10,000 voices globally, over 1,000 voices in India, and we paid over $1 million back to community that shared their voices in this way as well.
Talking a little bit about the challenges that AI is posing, there are increasing concerns about misuse of AI for voice cloning or deep fakes. Now, there are sort of an increasing demand for personality rights globally. So, does that sort of bother you? What do you think is the right solution to deal with it?
Very important. The first part is, with general where technology is going, it's going to be possible at scale, and we need to prepare the society to make sure we are protected, and then find ways to write rules to, if somebody isn't respecting those rights, they are shut down from the market. And then the second, as what we do as a company, if you are creating a voice, you need to go through authentication flow in a high quality, So you know that the voice belongs to that person. Two, you trace it back, and you can trace it back always that you have those rights. And then three, I think it's an important part. We need to find ways to like moderate the content that's created so it's not abused beyond what's permissive.
And do you think that the regulations across the world are adequate enough for dealing with these issues or for protection of users or consumers? What are your thoughts on this?
It's so different across geographies around the world. In some places, I think existing regulation is good. In others, it might not be there. So a good example is the right of publicity here in US, where if you are trying to imitate someone's voice and and it is on purpose, that's illegal. You cannot do that. Commercially, if you are bringing that in a setting, you can be taken and made accountable. So if a user of open source, of other commercial model is doing that, that user can be taken into account, and the tooling should allow you to try to trace it back. In other places, it might not be the case, and then I think it should evolve. So, quick answer to your question is, yes, I think there needs to be protection if you are having your voice, your IP, there needs to be protection around this. At the same time, there needs to be a balance, and I know I'm biased to a large extent, but there needs to be a balance where the rules need to apply to everyone equally. What I worry is happening today is that they are not applying equally. And that's the worst. Where open source, commercial models in China, commercial models in US, all have different rules. And that's where our biggest competition today is actually coming from Chinese models that will train on all types of data, will have no restrictions, are much cheaper. So that's an interesting check.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
ElevenLabs India focus is rooted in scale and language diversity. With 22 official languages and a growing interest in audio technology, voice AI is becoming part of daily business and media systems. As tools like voice cloning and AI agents enter mainstream use, key questions are coming into focus. Who owns the output? How is consent defined? What standards should give in this space? And how do you deal with the misuse? These issues are still unfolding, and we will be following them very, very closely. This is ET in the Valley on the Morning Brief. I am Surabhi Agarwal. This episode was produced by Anirban Chaudhary and Vinay Joshi. Sound designed by Indranil Bhattacharjee. Keep listening.